Welcome to Viking Legacy and Lore. The episode you're about to hear will give you a deeper understanding of the legends and lore of the Viking Age and carry your imagination straight into their world. Before we dive in, I want to say thank you. I'm giving away a copy of the Sagas of the Icelanders to one listener as a way to say thank you. All you have to do is send an email to vikinglegacyandlore@gmail.com. Do that before July 4th to enter. The winner will be announced during the following episode. And now, the episode you've been waiting for. It started with a growl, low and deep, too deep to be human. It rumbled out of the man's chest like a bear waking in winter. The enemy froze mid-step. Even the wind seemed to stop. Then came the scream, a roar so loud it made the birds shoot from the trees and the blood in every man's body turn cold. It wasn't a battle cry. It was a sound that said, "I don't care if I die, but I'll take you with me." And then he ran. What if everything you've been told about the Viking Berserkr is wrong? What if the most feared warriors of the North, those fire-eyed, blood-soaked madmen who laughed at death, what if they weren't insane? What if they were trained? What if they had a method, a system, a way of transforming pain into power, fear into fuel, rage into something that made them unbeatable? And what if you could do the same? Most people think berserkers were wild animals, uncontrolled, dangerous, cursed. They imagine some poor fool foaming at the mouth, high on mushrooms, screaming nonsensical words until someone puts a sword through his ribs. But that's not the truth. That's the myth we've wrapped around something too raw, too real for modern minds to accept. Because the truth, berserkers weren't broken. They were built. What they unleashed on the battlefield wasn't chaos. It was precision rage, forged rage. They trained for it, they prepared for it, they chose it, and it worked. Today, we're opening the door. A door that's been shut for 1,000 years. A door into a mindset so powerful, so explosive, that kings outlawed it, priests feared it, and enemies ran from it. But you're going to understand it, because hidden in the legend of the Berserkr is a secret that still applies to your life right now. Whether you're walking into a boardroom, running your first marathon, chasing a dream, or just trying to show up for your family every single day, you're in the fight. And this episode, this is your weapon. We're going to take you into the heart of a battle no one should have survived. We'll break down the ancient rituals, the real psychological warfare of the Berserkr warrior. And then we'll bring it home, teaching you how to tap into the same strength in your own modern world. This isn't about screaming and punching walls. This is about learning how to control the storm inside of you and aim it. So if you've ever felt like there's something fierce buried beneath your skin, if you've ever known there's a version of you that doesn't quit, doesn't back down, doesn't need motivation because it's already moving within, then stay with me, because today we don't just tell the story of the Berserkr, we become him. They should have died that morning. No one expected them to win, not even the gods. The air smelled of iron and wet snow. The frost crackled beneath the bare feet. 9 of them. No armor, no shields, just fur, bone, and blood. A pack of wolves staring down an army. Across the valley, 300 men lined the ridge. Helmets shining, spears planted in the snow, packed rows, their shield wall like a cold black wall of death. And still, the 9 did not flinch. They growled. Einar's chest rose and fell with slow fire. He was the youngest, 18 years old. His breath steamed like smoke from a forge. To his left, Bjarke painted his face in ash, dragging 2 fingers down from his eyes to his jaw. A line for the dead, a warning for the living. Rolf, the eldest, stood behind them. He whispered no prayer. He cracked his neck, flexed his fingers, and bit into his own hand. Blood dripped into the snow. It sizzled in the cold like spit on fire. "Now," said Rolf. The one word made the earth tremble. They moved as one, not running, not sprinting, trudging through the knee-deep snow. No formation, no hesitation. The sound came next. That sound, the roar that shook the bones in the back of your teeth. Not from one man, from all 9, howling like beasts from hell. The shield wall ahead was tense, spears lowered, orders shouted. It was too late. The first clash wasn't steel. It was flesh and bone. Einar launched himself at the front line like a stone from a sling. He slammed into his shield, rolled, came up on one knee and drove his dagger into the man's thigh, deep, fast, twisting. The man screamed. Einar yanked the blade free, rolled again, and slashed low across the back of the knee of another man. The man buckled before the second soldier could even strike. Einar was already gone, sliding across the ice like a shadow made of rage. Bjarke didn't duck, he didn't weave. He ran straight through a spear, let it pierce his side, grabbed the shaft with both hands and snapped it. The man holding it stumbled. Bjarke used the broken end like a club, driving into the man's throat. He dropped. Another came swinging, too slow. Bjarke stepped in close, shoulder to chest, grabbed the man's helmet, and slammed their heads together so hard the sound echoed like a church bell. The man went limp. Bjarke screamed, and behind him 3 more berserkers crashed into the fray. It was chaos, spinning, screaming, blood bursting from mouths like winter mist, mud, red and black, churned under bare feet. Rolf moved like death in human skin. He parried with a hatchet and slashed bone, gutted one man, headbutted another, then ripped a man's throat out with his teeth. One soldier turned to flee. Rolf caught him by the belt, pulled him close, and whispered something. The man dropped his sword and ran. Rolf didn't follow. He smiled. But the numbers, they were wrong. Too many. Einar looked left, no one there. He looked right, just Bjarke bleeding, surrounded. The others were scattered, locked in fights they couldn't win. One fell, then another. The shield wall held. Spears kept coming. The 9 had turned the line, but not broken it. They were losing, and now the second line was forming. Fresh, armored, unafraid. Einar fell to one knee. Blood leaked from a gash in his forehead. His fingers trembled. The enemy moved in. 10 men, then 20, forming a crescent around them. The berserkers were cut off. Across the snow, Bjarke roared, but his voice cracked. His strength was leaving him. Rolf spun, screamed, stabbed, but even he couldn't stop what was coming. The enemy tightened, step by step, closer, closer. Final. And that's when Einar saw it. In the center of the field, the youngest among them, back to the sky, face in the snow, still breathing, but barely. They would all fall one by one in the rage, the fire. It would die here, unless something changed. That wasn't fiction. That was earned rage. The word berserker strikes fear. Even today, it sounds like something untamed, explosive, out of control, but the truth is far more focused and far more useful. Let's begin with the word itself, berserker. The bear shirt warrior. An old Norse berserker meant bear shirt, not because they were hairy brutes, but because they wore the spirit of the bear. In action, in mindset, and sometimes even in hide. The berserker was a man who threw off armor and fear alike. He stepped onto the battlefield bare-chested, wrapped in furs, sometimes foaming at the mouth, but always intentional in his mission, to shatter the shield wall before the battle even truly began. His cousin, the Ulfheden, the wolf-coated warrior, These were often tied to Odin directly. Their frenzy, their howl, their sudden burst of violence were not madness. They were ritualized transformation. They didn't just dress like beasts, they became them. But how? In a saga written in the 13th century, we read, Odin's men went without mail. They were as mad as dogs or wolves. They bit their shields and were strong as bears or bulls. They killed people, but neither fire nor iron touched them. Shield biting, fireproof, inhuman strength. The descriptions almost seem mythical until you dig deeper. They appear again in the 9th century poem and in many other saga texts. In nearly all of them, the pattern is the same. An elite warrior, known for incredible violence, who enters a distinct mental state and either terrifies an enemy or becomes a danger to his own. They weren't drunk, they weren't sloppy, they were programmed to let go of fear, and that took training. And if that's true, that meant berserkers weren't wild. They were prepared. They fasted before battle. Hunger sharpened their senses. They breathed in a pattern, short, sharp, like panting. They rubbed ash or animal fat onto their skin. They isolated themselves before the fight, entering deep silence. Some used rhythm like war drums or chants. They synced their heartbeat with the beat of the drum. It was intentional. Cold was a part of it too. Wading into freezing rivers, standing in snow barefoot. Why? Because the cold burns hesitation out of your body. It silences the lazy man. It forces you to decide right now, who are you? The psychology of the berserker is fascinating. Flow state. Think of it as a weapon. Modern science has a name for what the berserker did. Flow state is when the world disappears, when your body acts faster than your thoughts, when pain is irrelevant, when time slows and instinct takes over. Berserkers trained to enter this state on command. It was like flipping a switch in their brain. To the outsiders, it looked like rage, but inside it was focus, laser-pointed, brutal, and beautiful. Their heart rates surged, pain receptors dulled, fear centers in the brain shut off. Today, we see the same effect in Navy SEALs during raids, athletes in high-stakes competition, firefighters sprinting into collapsed buildings, even surgeons in a 12-hour trauma operation. They all learn to turn off the noise and to move without flinching. That's not madness, that's mastery. Now let's consider the mushroom debate. Is it myth or was it method? There's an old theory that berserkers were high on mushrooms. The red-capped mushroom with white spots. Is it possible? Some shamans used it to enter trance states. Did the berserkers use it in the same way? Did they use it to dull pain? Did it cause aggression? Or did it cause them to disconnect from themselves? There's a problem with that theory. For one, the high is unreliable. It could cause vomiting, confusion, and paralysis just as often as it could cause rage. And it takes time to activate, meaning you'd have to guess when to eat it before battle. More likely, they used breath work, cold exposure, isolation, and maybe even potent herbal mixes like bog, myrtle, or alcohol to sharpen, not dull. In short, they weren't intoxicated, they were initiated. So what was it like on the battlefield with a berserker? What was it like to witness a berserker in a fight? Let's picture the battlefield. Your side stands in a tight shield wall, disciplined, quiet, waiting. Suddenly 9 men roar across the field. They're shirtless, painted in blood, eyes wide. One leaps into the air, axe swinging. Another takes a spear to the ribs and keeps coming. A third bites a soldier's neck. Your line breaks not because you're weak, but because you're terrified. Berserkers were the first wave shock troopers. Their job was to break enemy confidence before the fight began. If even a few enemy soldiers ran, the line crumbled. Then the rest of the Viking warriors, organized, armed, deadly, charge in, and they'd finish the job. The berserker wasn't always meant to survive. He was meant to disrupt, to tear the veil between control and chaos. And to do that, you need more than muscle. You need to be willing to die. Now here's why Vikings outlawed the Berserkr. As Christianity spread through Scandinavia, the Berserkr became a problem. Kings like Eric Bloodaxe banned their use because you can't control a man who answers to nothing but rage. They were too dangerous, too respected, too feared. And the church, they saw Berserker rage as demonic. The rituals, the transformation, the violence, it all had to go. And by the 1100s, Berserkers were outlawed in most Norse lands. Their stories began to shift from honored warriors to cursed men, werewolves, or beasts. But those are just echoes. The truth? The fire was never extinguished. It simply changed forms. Let's talk about where the Berserker lives today. You've seen him. In the eyes of a Marine before breaching a door, in the mindset of a triathlete grinding through 140 miles, in the heart of a father who keeps showing up even when life is tearing at him. The Berserker still exists, but he's quiet now. No fur, no war paint, just a man who knows how to breathe through fear and how to focus through pain and move when others freeze. That's not madness, that's strength. And it's available to you. Let's cut the fluff. You heard the story. You felt the rage. You smelled the blood and the snow and the sweat on their skin. And maybe you thought, that's not me. I'm not a Viking. I'm not a warrior. I've never charged into battle barefoot or covered myself in bear grease and screamed like a demon. Fair enough. But you are in a fight. You may not be swinging an axe, but you're facing things just as dangerous. Bills stacking up, dreams slipping through your fingers, a job that drains the life out of you, a body that's out of shape, a family that's depending on you, and you're telling me you don't need Berserker strength? Come on now. Listen, you don't need more motivation. You need a switch, a moment when you stop asking for comfort and you start choosing control. They had theirs. The war cry, the ash on their face, the cold. You need your ritual. Whether it's get up at 4 a.m. or put your phone down, put it in another room, write your goals down, write them on a mirror, write them in red ink. You have to do what you have to do. Stand in the freezing shower until your voice in your head shuts up. Find your line and step across it. That's the moment when the Berserker is born. That mindset still works today. You keep waiting for your life to get easier, but ease is not coming. Discomfort is not the enemy, it's the signal. The fire in your lungs when you're out of breath, the ache in your legs when you don't want to keep going, the doubt that creeps in at 2 a.m. That's your battlefield. Don't run from it. Use it. That's what they did. When the cold bit their skin, they stayed there longer. When the fear rose, they screamed louder, not because they weren't scared, but because they decided it doesn't matter. And that's the key. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It moves anyway. Treat pain like information. Pain tells you something. Not stop, but listen. You're weak there. You need to work on that. That's the spot you build from. It's like building calluses. You don't stop the first time you bleed. You bleed again and again until the pain becomes armor. That's how the Berserker trained. That's how you can do it too. Don't run from pain, recruit it. And here's the truth most people miss. The Berserker didn't become a beast when he screamed. He became a beast when he decided he wasn't a normal man anymore. He made a choice. I'm something else now. That's what changed everything. Not the tools, not the tactic, the identity. If you're still thinking like a victim, acting like a passenger, waiting for permission, you're done before you start. You want strength? Claim it. Say it out loud. I don't quit. I face the hard things. I burn bright. I burn long. And then I get back up and do it again. Every single day. And you don't even need a wolf pelt. You just need a reason. and you need a ritual, and you need the guts to keep going when every part of you says stop. That's what the Berserker did, and that is the truth. Don't let the Berserker mindset stay buried in the sagas, and don't let him stay buried under your excuses. Dig him out, because he's still there. The circle was closing. Einar crouched low, blood in his eyes, breath in tatters. To his left, Bjarke swayed like a dying tree. To his right, no one. The snow was soaked, dark, empty. The enemy pressed in step by step, boots crunching in the frost, not rushing. They didn't have to. The Berserkers were cornered. The fire had burned and now it flickered. Rolf stood at the center, silent. He had no weapon, just bloodied fists and a look in his eyes like he'd already left his body. One of the enemy captains shouted, "Yield!" Another, "Die like men!" A third raised his sword high overhead, shining in the gray light, and then Rolf laughed. It wasn't madness, it was memory. He remembered the river, the frostbite, the screams, the training, the wolves that wouldn't eat him because they thought he was already dead. He remembered the first kill, the vows, the way the cold taught him that pain is a gift and silence is a teacher. He didn't fight to win, he fought because this was what he was born to do. He screamed, and it wasn't a sound, it was a signal. The Berserker stood tall. Bjarke ripped the broken spear from his side and flung it like lightning. It struck an enemy through the neck. Einar ran forward, not away, not left or right, but through. He hit the circle like a boulder thrown by Thor himself. He tackled a spearman to the ground, ripped the weapon free, and drove it backward into another man's thigh. The enemy's circle bent, and then it broke. They didn't retreat. They exploded. Rolf grabbed one by the hair and kneed him in the face. Bjarke tore a shield from a soldier's hand and used it like a blade, slamming its edge into his legs, ribs, and then throat. Einar found the center of the storm. He leapt off a corpse, brought his hatchet down like judgment into the chest of the captain who had shouted, "Yield!" The man gasped once and then fell. Suddenly the circle wasn't surrounding them. It was fleeing. The line was in chaos. Men ran, some tripped, others fell screaming into the snow as the Berserkers surged behind them. No more formation, no more commands, just fire. Rolf grabbed a banner, tore it from the pole, and wrapped it around his fist like a gauntlet. He found the biggest man left on the field, 7 feet tall, sword heavy as an oar, and met him head on. One hit. One. The sword came down. Rolf stepped in, not back. He took the blade on his forearm, screamed through the pain, and drove his elbow into the man's face. The giant fell like a broken tree, and that was it. Silence. The battlefield lay red and broken. Frost and blood, steel and breath. 6 Berserkers stood where 300 once threatened, and not one of them spoke because they didn't need to. They knew. They'd awakened something ancient, something raw and untouchable. It wasn't just rage, it was battlefield superiority. They didn't cheer, they didn't chant, they walked. They walked through the wreckage, past the dead, back to the edge of the woods. The world watched them go, shaking, trembling. Even the wind held its breath. And eventually, rumors would swirl. They would say they saw them vanish into the mist. Another would swear they left no tracks. Some would say they were cursed. But a few would whisper that they were blessed, because in the fire, they held the true strength. And what about you? You feel it too, don't you? In your chest, in your bones. The part of you that doesn't want to quit. The part of you that remembers what you were made for. You've got blood in your mouth, frost in your lungs, and the storm isn't outside anymore. It's inside. So the next time life closes in, when fear surrounds you, when the world says yield and the weight is too much, remember what they did. Remember how they stood. don't just fight, roar. There's a fire in every man, but most have forgotten how to light it. They wait for the world to spark them, for a boss, a coach, a crisis. They wait until the pain screams louder than the comfort whispers. But the Berserkr teaches us something else. You don't need to rage, you need to burn on command. The Berserkr didn't walk into the battle angry. He walked in ready. His fire wasn't wild, it was trained. So not a wildfire, but a forge. He stepped across that invisible line between fear and action, and once he was on the other side, he never looked back. So when it's time to rise, you don't need to ask the world for permission. Just get up. Pain, it's also a teacher. It's not a curse. It's not an enemy. It's just a message that says this matters. You're not finished yet. And it asks, do you want it badly enough to suffer through it? The Berserkr didn't run from pain. He listened to it. He turned it into focus, into breath, into fury. If you avoid pain, you avoid growth. But if you respect it, you'll become something the soft world cannot understand. Weakness isn't the enemy. We all start weak. What ruins a man is softness, the refusal to face the hard things. Softness avoids the cold. It flinches at truth. It bows to feelings. But the warrior, he seeks the cold. He speaks the truth, even when it shakes his voice. He uses feelings as fuel, not chains. So what is the way of the Berserkr? Not chaos, not madness, not blind rage. It's this. Know your enemy, know yourself. Train the fire. Control the storm. Burn when needed. Rest when you can, and never forget, you're not soft, you're forged. The battlefield may look different today, but the war has never stopped. The Berserkr's fire, it still burns. You just have to know where to light it. The modern battlefield is crowded with noise. Emails, metrics, deadlines, doubt. Trying to build something in this world. It's like charging into a shield wall of distractions, imposter syndrome, and fear of failure. But the Berserkr didn't wait for the perfect plan. He hit first. He moved through fear. He didn't hesitate when the numbers looked bad. And you've got ideas. You have dreams. You've got that side hustle. Maybe that business that's bleeding. It's not more strategy you need. It's fire. Show up every day like it's a raid. Break the pattern. Bite the shield. And never apologize for going forward full force towards what matters. The world doesn't owe you anything. And it's not going to give you space, so you're going to need to take it. If you're training or you're ready to start, train with fire. Comfort is a plague. But if you want real power, train like suffering is your friend. The Berserkr didn't warm up with yoga and avocado toast. He waded into rivers. He carried logs. He fought in snow, bare-chested. He built his fire by choosing pain before it arrived. That's a mindset shift. Don't avoid hard things, chase them. Put a weight vest on and go for a walk in the cold. Set a timer. Beat it. Train when you don't feel like it. You don't need motivation. You need to make pain feel like home. Be a leader. Lead with fire. You want to be dangerous? Be a leader. Anyone can swing an axe. Let's talk about the Berserkr's secret. It wasn't just his scream. It was his stillness before the battle. The long, cold silence in the woods where fear tried to whisper, and he learned not to listen. You want to be unshakable? You need daily silence. Not scrolling. Not background noise. Sit. Breathe. Sit in that stillness and listen to it say, I am not here to be soft. I'm here to be forged. You've seen it now. The blood, the frost, the impossible odds. You've heard the screams in the silence. You've learned that the Berserkr wasn't a madman. He was made. He was forged in the cold, sharpened by pain, unleashed by choice. And you felt it too. That small voice, that flicker inside of you when things get hard and you think, I can't. But something answers back, yes, you can, and you will. That's not madness, that's your fire talking. The world will keep telling you to stay soft, sit down, be quiet, be nice. But the Berserkr didn't survive the sagas by being nice. He survived because he chose fire over fear. He knew the cost, and he stepped forward anyway. You have the choice too, every single day. You can let pain crush you, or you can call it a teacher. You can let weakness define you, or you can burn it off. You can believe the lie that you're not enough, or you can prove them wrong with every breath in your lungs. Because the truth is, you're not done. You're just getting started. The test is coming. It might look like another long day, a loss, a diagnosis, a deadline, a door slammed in your face. But when the test comes, you won't panic. You'll breathe, you'll move, you'll burn. Because now you know the Berserkr is not a myth. He's you. He's what happens when you stop waiting to feel ready and rise anyway. So don't quit, don't flinch, and whatever you do, don't let that fire inside of you go. If this episode lit something inside of you, don't let it die in your earbuds. Subscribe to the show. New sagas, lessons, and war cries every single week, just for you. You can help the podcast by leaving a review. Tell us what you think. Tell us what hit the hardest, what changed you, what made you move forward. And then share it with someone who needs fire, a brother, a sister, a fighter. Look, this isn't just a podcast. It's a community, and it's a warpath. And now you're part of it. And so until next time, be bold, be strong, and awaken the Viking in you.